we heard a clip of none other than Bill O'Reilly promoting Transcendental meditation on his Fox News program and talking about how this is being administered to poor children, how it's changing the health industry. Help the listeners understand what they just heard. Jill?
Transcendental meditation is a spiritual practice, and it first popped up in the West in the 1970s thanks to a Maharishi Mahesh yogi. And he came and decided that he had something that was going to give man inner peace. How often have we heard that, Jan? Mm-hmm. Giving man inner peace, solving all man's problems, and scientifically oriented besides. So he went ahead and started teaching this religious practice, which is basically meditation, chanting a mantra, totally based on Hindu beliefs. And it's actually concerned with the Hindu scriptures. And it pulls from there the fact that God is pantheistic everywhere. So it attacks immediately the God of the Bible. And it also encourages you to lose yourself, lose your personality in the oneness of God. So this is, of course, a direct contradiction to the scriptures. And now it's being promoted by the American Heart Association. Right. It's being promoted in military academies. Norwich University in Vermont is offering TM to its cadets. It's gone into the schools, to urban centers. The Department of Defense developed a grant to study the effects of TM on post-traumatic stress disorder. So it's filtering into everything, and it's now become a big business in the U.S.
I want to support what you're saying. This is a short soundbite of George Stephanopoulos, Jerry Seinfeld. This is Good Morning America, folks. This is mainline television, primetime television is what I'm trying to say. And then when I get back, Eric, I want your input on this.
Here with Jerry Seinfeld, also another special guest here, Bob Roth, the executive director of the David Lynch Foundation. And we're all here because we all have something in common. We all practice Transcendental meditation, which I didn't know about until I learned it from you, and you taught me how to do it after Jerry introduced it. And I think people don't really understand exactly what it is and what a difference it's made in people's lives. You've been doing it
I've been doing it 40 years this year, 40 years of TM. Now, you just started doing it.
2 years. I'm in my second year.
And you have this insane job, right?
Which you've learned all about this morning.
Yeah. You have to get up at like 9 at night to get here.
And it makes all the difference.
It makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
But it's very hard to explain. You know how I was describing it to somebody? I was saying, it's like having you know how your phone has a charger? It's like if you had a charger for your whole body and mind. That's what TM is.
And you said something very important to me when we first started, because it was one of the questions I had. You said, this is not a religion. It's a technique. It's compatible with all kinds of religions. What it really does is try to get the stress out of your life, and now scientists are finding real health benefits.
Well, the whole idea is that we have very active, noisy levels of the mind, that we sort of got to go here, got to do this, got to do that. But every human being has deep within a settled, calm, silent level of their mind. And this Transcendental meditation is just an effortless way to have the active, excited mind settle down, experience that inner calm. At the same time, the body gains a very deep state of rest. That rest eliminates stress, you have more energy, wakes up the brain, and you guys can do your jobs.
Right, and the American Heart Association actually says it works.
No, the American Heart Association just came out with a study a month ago that showed that Transcendental meditation highly effective for reducing high blood pressure, for reducing risk of stroke, and actually reducing mortality rates by almost 50% from people who've been meditating for 5 years.
Very exciting work you guys are doing, because it's not just, it can help anybody, but you guys are going into schools right now, helping at-risk kids, helping soldiers coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, who are suffering from post-traumatic stress, also women who've been the victims of violence.
Well, I mean, for example, the Department of Defense just provided a $2 million grant to study the effects of Transcendental meditation on post-traumatic stress disorder. The fact is, as Forbes magazine said, stress is the black plague of the 21st century. It's an ugly thing. It can't be prevented. It can't be cured by conventional means. And now this technique, this particular meditation technique, has been shown to be highly effective in eliminating post-traumatic stress disorder. And so it's being used in schools where kids have, or they're young children in the urban centers have the same symptoms of PTSD as soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. It's interesting that something so ancient and traditional, and not a religion, and not a philosophy, and not a change in lifestyle, anyone can do it, that something that simple can have such a profound impact on very modern ailments.
I'm sorry, but I am really troubled by the fact that they seem to be targeting kids with these kinds of practices. They're naive, they're innocent, and they're leading them down the rocky road to a world in the occult.
Not only that, but this is not true. What they are saying about how TM has reduced all this stress, what they don't tell you is that they have never measured that against prayer, the effects of prayer, of talking to God. Never. So what they're doing is they're saying, well, TM lowers all this stress, but they have no data on how anything else would affect it. Nothing to compare it to. So it's a lie.
You're listening to Understanding the Times Radio. I'm Jan Markell. In studio is Jill Martin Rishi and is Eric Barger, often my co-hosts, often my guests as well, because they both have so much to comment on, quite frankly. Eric, your thoughts on what we just heard?
Well, it's a promotion of TM, obviously, and as Jill just pointed out, they have no basis to say what they're saying. I mean, they can make a statement that it helps somebody. In fact, when you're listening to this and you're seeing these well-known faces and entertainers and so on that are promoting it, you go, oh, let's all just sign up and get involved. But TM asks you, it requires that you empty your mind. You begin to think about what that means, that if you've given up the control of your mind, who knows what's coming to visit.
Right.
In fact, Dr. Martin pointed out he knew exactly who was coming to dinner. I remember one of his messages, and that's what concerns me, is that you've opened yourself up to all kinds of effects that you wouldn't otherwise. And I think it's very important what Jill said, that they've never measured what prayer does. That's the thing. You've opened yourself up to different gods. And the scripture is very clear about this. When people say that this is just a harmless technique and it's compatible with all kinds of religions, not if you look at it and strain it through the pages of the Bible. It's not. It's not compatible with our religion, and it's dangerous. And that's what we're trying to point out.
Jill, you made a comment to me because you manage our Facebook and Twitter, and you said that some folks on Facebook were inquiring about the paranormal.
They wanted to know about channeling, what was channeling, and basically the impact of it. And I think, again, this relates to fighting the battle. There is so much going on that we cannot see. There are things coming against us that we need to realize are coming from the enemy. We need to spend time in prayer. I'm at my weakest when I am not praying every day. I'm at my weakest when I am not reading the scriptures every day and talking to the Lord and kneeling before Him, spending time in His presence. That is how we equip ourselves for battle. And there's a lot coming against us. And without that armor on, as my father always used to say, you get caught out on the battlefield in your spiritual BVDs. And that's a very bad place to be.